Hello there, and welcome to Reach for Power, where we take a closer look at the power itself and the strategies to build it. We also analyze various roadblocks, self-limiting beliefs and behaviors that might be jeopardizing your potential. I am your host, Monika Kruk, and in this episode, we will conclude our two-part analysis of self-sabotaging cognitive distortions, also known as thinking traps. Just to recap, in part 1, we covered the following thinking traps: all or nothing, catastrophizing, ignoring or overlooking positives, labeling, and exaggerating or belittling. Today we will analyze further 4: mind reading, excessive generalization, abuse of imperatives, and tunnel vision. We will also have a look at a list of self-help questions that might assist you to overcome and take under control some of the self-sabotaging thinking traps. Let's get started. Thinking trap number 1, mind reading. Mind reading is a cognitive distortion where individuals assume they know what others are thinking, often making negative or self-critical assumptions about their thoughts. This thinking trap can lead to misunderstandings, strained relationships, and increased anxiety. Here's some further framework for understanding and addressing the mind-reading cognitive distortion. First of all, it involves making assumptions about what someone else is thinking or feeling without any concrete evidence. People may believe they can discern negative thoughts or judgments from others. This thinking trap often leads to negative self-perception, as individuals may wrongly assume that others are thinking poorly of them. This can contribute to low self-esteem and self-doubt. Mind reading can lead to miscommunication and misunderstandings, as people act based on their assumptions about what others are thinking rather than seeking clear communication. Constantly attempting to read the minds of others and making those negative assumptions can lead to heightened anxiety and stress. And in some cases, yet again, mind reading can become a self-fulfilling prophecy, as individuals may behave in ways that align with their negative assumptions, potentially causing others to react negatively in response, and hence the self-fulfilling prophecy happens. To address the mind reading trap, consider the following strategies. Yet again, similarly as in part 1, our good old friend, awareness. Recognize when you are engaging in this cognitive distortion. Be aware of moments when you are assuming you know what others are thinking without concrete evidence. Question the validity of your mind-reading assumptions. Ask yourself if there is any real evidence to support your beliefs about others' thoughts. Instead of assuming, practice open and direct communication. If you are unsure about what someone is thinking or feeling, ask them for their perspective. But also try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and consider various perspectives and emotions they might be experiencing. This can help you see the situation from a more balanced standpoint. You can also counter negative self-assumptions with positive self-talk. Challenge your self-critical thoughts and remind yourself of your worth and capabilities. It might also help to use stress reduction techniques to help you manage anxiety related to mind reading, such as mindfulness and relaxation exercises. Thinking trap number 2, excessive generalization. Excessive generalization is also known as overgeneralization, and it is a cognitive distortion where individuals make sweeping, negative conclusions based on limited or isolated experiences. This thinking trap can lead to distorted perceptions, exaggerated fears, and hinder personal growth. Let's have a closer deep dive into this phenomenon. Excessive generalization involves drawing broad and negative conclusions about oneself, others, or situations based on limited or isolated incidents. For example, one failure leads to the belief that you are a complete failure. This thinking trap exaggerates the significance of negative experiences while ignoring or downplaying positive or neutral ones. It results in a skewed view of reality. Making overly negative generalizations can lead to heightened anxiety, stress, and emotional distress, as individuals anticipate negative outcomes in various areas of life. It also impairs problem solving and decision making, as people may avoid taking risks or trying new things due to their fears of negative outcomes. Over time, these negative generalizations can become again a self-fulfilling prophecy, as people may act in ways that reinforce their negative beliefs. To address this thinking trap, you might consider the following strategies, again recognizing when you are engaging in this cognitive distortion. Be aware of moments when you are making sweeping negative conclusions based on a very limited or non-existent evidence. Question the validity of your negative perceptions. Ask yourself if you are applying one negative experience to an entire category or aspect of your life. Seek out and identify counterexamples to challenge your generalizations. Look for instances where the opposite of your negative belief is true, and focus on actual evidence and facts rather than making assumptions. Use concrete data and observations to inform your conclusions. It might also help to engage in positive self-talk and balanced thinking. Remind yourself of your strengths, achievements, and the positive aspects of your life. Gradually challenge your negative beliefs by taking calculated risks and trying new things. This can help you break the cycle of excessive generalization. Thinking trap number 3, abuse of imperatives. Abuse of imperatives is a cognitive distortion where individuals use excessive shoulds, must, oughts, and have tos when thinking about themselves or others. This thinking trap can lead to unrealistic expectations, feelings of pressure, and guilt. It might also involve using words like should, must, have to in a rigid and demanding way when thinking about behaviors, responsibilities, or expectations. The abuse of imperatives often leads to settling unrealistic or unattainable standards for oneself or the others. This can create a constant sense of pressure to meet these expectations. When people use these excessive imperatives and fail to meet the demanding standards they've set, it can result in feelings of guilt, self-criticism, and a sense of failure. It can also affect relationships, as individuals may impose their unrealistic shoulds and musts on others, leading to conflict and frustration. That in turn, this constant feeling of pressure can contribute to high levels of stress and anxiety as people worry about meeting these demanding standards. In order to combat this thinking trap, again, reflect. Recognize when you are using excessive amount of shoulds and musts in your thinking. Pay attention when you are imposing your rigid have-tos on yourself or others. And then question the validity of these rigid demands. Ask yourself, is it truly necessary to use demanding language and whether these expectations are actually realistic? You can also replace demanding imperatives with more flexible language. Instead of saying I must, say I prefer or I choose to. Surprisingly enough, this allows you for greater flexibility and more balanced approach to life. In terms of your goals, establish achievable and realistic ones, together with expectations for yourself. Avoid imposing over-demanding standards that are difficult to meet and as a result lead to demotivation. Then remember to be kind to yourself and others. Understand that nobody's perfect and it's okay to make mistakes or fall short of expectations from time to time. The key point is to brush off and stand up and start again. When dealing with others, communicate your needs and expectations clearly and respectfully, rather than using demanding language. It might also be helpful to use stress reduction techniques like mindfulness, relaxation exercises, or time management to manage the pressure that may arise from excessively using imperatives. Thinking trap number 4, tunnel vision. This common cognitive bias, known as tunnel vision or selective attention, involves focusing narrowly on a single aspect of a situation while ignoring or disregarding other important factors. One of its characteristics is a limited focus on a single element, detail, or perspective, while ignoring the broader context or other relevant information. People with tunnel vision often neglect to consider alternative viewpoints, opinions, options, or solutions, which can hinder effective decision-making and problem-solving. This cognitive bias can also be linked to confirmation bias, where individuals pay attention to information but only the chosen one that confirms their existing beliefs or preferences, while ignoring or dismissing contradictory data. Tunnel vision can lead to skewed perceptions and inaccurate assessments of situations, as individuals fail to take into account the full range of relevant information. Again, what might help is to recognize when you are engaging in tunnel vision. Pay attention to moments when you are overly focused on a single aspect or perspective. Make a conscious effort to broaden your perspective by actively seeking out alternative viewpoints, information, or solutions related to the situation. It is also very helpful to engage in critical thinking, to assess the validity and reliability of the information you are focusing on. Be open to the possibility that your initial perspective might not be complete. And as a result, it might be a first step to encourage you to look for input from others with different viewpoints or expertise, as this can provide a more comprehensive understanding of the situation. Practicing mindfulness allows to stay present and open to the full range of information in the moment, rather than fixating on a single detail or perspective. When making decisions or solving problems, use a structured approach that involves considering multiple factors and alternatives before arriving at conclusion. In terms of the helpful diagnostic questions that I mentioned at the beginning of our episode, let me share a few. Using those on a regular basis and reflecting on the results of this self-awareness exercise might be helpful to identify the thinking traps and also meet the first step on the path to fixing them, meaning being aware of what is happening. So, examples would include: what is holding me back from living the way I truly want to? Where have I drawn the line between what's possible and impossible? What do I consider impossible to achieve in my life? Why am I convincing myself it is beyond my reach? Where does this belief come from? Who suggested it to me? From whom did I pick it up? Is this belief true? How do I know it's based on facts? Is it really, truly a reality? What aspects of my life have I given up upon? What I am afraid to ask for? What do I not expect from others? Why am I afraid to face it? Does this thought strengthen me or weaken me? What is the worst that could happen? What is most likely to occur? How much does it cost me each day to hold to this belief? What are the consequences of having this belief in my life? How does it affect the ones whom I love? What have I missed out in my life so far because of this belief? What pain and frustration have I experienced? In what way does this belief seem funny or absurd to me? What beliefs do I want to change? What beliefs would be worth changing? This concludes our deep dive into the topic of the chosen thinking traps. In part 1 and 2, we have looked at all or nothing, catastrophizing, ignoring and overlooking positives, labeling, exaggerating or belittling, mind reading, excessive generalization, abuse of imperatives, tunnel vision, and also examples of questions that might be helpful in terms of thinking about these cognitive distortions and taking them under control. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe to have regular access to the newly published content. You are also welcome to Reach for Power webpage at reachforpower.com for more materials, and share your thoughts, comments, and connect with me through LinkedIn. Thank you for joining me today, and keep on reaching for power.